Whoa, sorry, I didn't mean to jump scare you. I know, somehow I accidentally uploaded 2 videos in the same year. I'll try to give you a heads up next time. Now that that's out of the way, sit back and relax, as I'm about to tell you why this guy right here has everything the platforming genre has been missing. Finally, I'll get to play game of platforms and graphics! I was lied to. Klonoa, Bandai Namco's very own mascot platformer, an IP to finally bring them into the next generation of gaming. Yeah, I can see how well that went. With only 2 major main series releases, not counting the handheld games, it's safe to say that Klonoa as a series has kind of been on the niche side for close to every console generation, but that very niche underground status combined with the charm of that almost dreamlike PS1 aesthetic kind of let it build up a cult following and legendary status in some corners of the internet, which is definitely what drew me to the series in the first place. I originally played through a bit of the first game on emulators from time to time growing up, though the farthest I ever made it was the 3rd or 4th level because, let's face it, this game was not made for touch controls. Maybe it's the way Klonoa moves combined with that little bit of bullshit 90s difficulty spike. Without the tactile feedback of real buttons or the small mistakes that are a lot easier to make when playing on a phone screen, I could never really get a feel for the game. I mean, sure, I could have played it on PC, but the thought never really crossed my mind. I mean, I think it's one of those games I really wanted to fully experience first when the console was made for. I was happy to wait for a chance to come up, holy fucking shit. What do you know? Klonoa, playable on a console! To be honest, this has gotta be one of the cleanest feeling remakes I've ever played, and in the age of both the Nintendo Switch existing and of retro games costing my firstborn's fucking soul to buy, the remakes are definitely the go-to way to experience both Klonoa 1 and 2. And so, after finally playing through and beating Klonoa 1, and now well through the sequel, I have even more respect for the gameplay and level design than I had going into it. And I also realized something that Klonoa has, which most modern platformers are completely missing. You see, he's got a little guy on his hat. Oh, and the gameplay is a completely unique branch of precision platforming designed around puzzle elements executed in one of the most satisfying ways possible. That's cool too, I guess. Precision platformers, the other side of the coin from your Marios and Sonics. While on the side of the more casual momentum-based platformers, you're more focused on the and possibly even the With precision platformers like Mega Man, Kid Icarus, Not Uprising, and the original Castlevanias, however, it's a more intricate pace where you're forced to analyze your surroundings and come up with a plan and proceed with caution. Though it doesn't always have to be slow, it's just the risk is usually way higher, and in some cases, fucking sadistic. But with the higher risk comes an even higher reward. I can't put into words how satisfying it feels to run through a Mega Man level without taking damage, and Klonoa has every mark of an incredibly well-designed precision platformer, but executed in a way I've never seen anywhere else. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Whether it be RPGs, adventure games, or Not Bejeweled's RPG adventure game, every developer seems to love throwing a puzzle in there, except for platformers, usually, and probably for the better. I mean, you don't see Mario following cryptic messages and performing obscure tasks meant to guide him to stop. What I meant to say was Sonic's too focused on going fast. Breaking the momentum to complete an unrelated, slow, and calculated challenge makes zero sense, you've gotta be shitting me. Sure, sometimes 3D platformers throw in a puzzle or two as part of the exploration, but 2D platformers on the other hand, while it's admittedly more common to see in Metroidvanias nowadays, generally puzzles in these kind of games are usually detached from the main experience, like little breaks in between the action. But here, the puzzles are directly built into every part of the level design, and even in Klonoa's controls. The main mechanic of Klonoa is turning enemies into weapons. While Klonoa lacks a certain level of suck found in some games, the principle is still the same. You've got a single attack which lets you use it again after successfully picking up an enemy. You can throw them in any of 4 directions around Klonoa, in addition to throwing enemies downwards and giving Klonoa a second extended jump. And as any good precision platformer, the levels are built directly around your capabilities. While with the closest comparison, which is Kirby, the ability to weaponize enemies in the same way is more defensive, and really just an option at that point to give you new power most of the time. I mean, you can literally fly over 90% of threats you come across. There's not really anything forcing you to fight non-mini-boss enemies, but proper use of Klonoa's ability, though, is a requirement to make any progress whatsoever. Each screen is designed with little challenges, where the platforming is built around using moves, which make up most of the enemies in the game, to double jump, throwing them to hit switches, double jumping and picking up another enemy mid-air. Some of them even have side effects or conditions to defeat, like the armored moves taking multiple hits, or the larger ones being able to be turned into temporary platforms. Rather than an emphasis on reaction or avoiding hazards like most similar games in the genre, what makes Klonoa more of a puzzle precision platformer is that the threats are the very tools you're meant to use to progress. Instead of asking how to get from point A to B while minimizing danger, you're made to use the danger in front of you as the means to get to your goal. While the execution isn't as strict early on, in the latter half of the game, these things get fucking precise. The last gauntlets in the Sun and Moon Kingdoms have little to no room for error, but at that point, you're already so well equipped with the tools that the game's given you that it still feels fair. Adding to the puzzle elements is the non-linearity of the level design. Often there will just be keys or switches found in branching paths that make use of the game's 3D controls that are needed just as it would be in the dungeons of a Zelda game. There's even a point where in order to complete a certain level, the story takes you to a separate level from there to complete a challenge that changes the environment in the original level that you were just in to let you progress in the second act. That's not even to mention that even the bosses follow the same design pattern, and their attack patterns, which play into using all 4 directions and turning their own attacks against them, fit perfectly with the rest of the level design. Klonoa doesn't waste any chance to use pretty much any tool the game has, while building on them as you make your way to Gadius, the main villain of the game, by introducing even more enemy types and puzzle elements to interact with as the game goes on. The second game does a lot to change the direction of things like story, presentation, and progression. It's definitely still great, but it feels really different, so much so that I feel like it functions as more of a soft reboot of the series, so I think it deserves a video of its own after I beat it, once I have more to say about it. But even so, it still shows that basic puzzle precision platformer DNA, just arguably taken in a more refined direction, which I'm really enjoying so far. I just wanted to talk about why I think this game is so damn cool. I could definitely see myself coming back to Door to Phantomile for some... Is it Phantomile? But oh my god, there's literally no Japanese pronunciation for this. I could definitely see myself coming back to Door to Phantomile for fun sometime. Maybe even speedrunning could be cool too. Okay, just an update, I actually went and watched the speedrun of the original, and I think this comment sums up exactly what I have to say about this game as an 80% run. It's kind of fucking nutty. So I'm actually more interested in this now than I was before. With that being said though, those are some of my thoughts on Klonoa and why I think the game's design is so cool and unique. It definitely still has a place even in 2023, and I hope that the game's creators feel more confident in making a third one since the remake is done so well. I actually got it the week it came out, but I didn't play it until this year because I was so busy in between, but it's left me wanting more. And that'll probably be the case even after I finish Lunatea as well. But yeah, precision puzzle platformers are kinda dope. We definitely need more of them. Heck, whenever I get the chance, I might even do it myself. Anyways, yeah, game's a banger. I just have a single question. Okay, why is he a Sonic OC now? And why does it kinda go hard? Holy f***, he's in Sonic Adventure?